cutting edge guests, awesome, uncensored, jaw-dropping information, plus funny memes, good deeds, and loads of laughter. Kind of have it all. Ladies and gentlemen, if your soul's awake, then welcome, because you're in the right place. Good day to you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Sovereign Soul Show. It's a program which stands for love, levity, and liberty, because after all, love is the most powerful form in the universe, and laughter's the best medicine, especially covering serious topics and all matters, ancient, current, and quantum, right? I am your host, Brad Wozni, and this is a daily update on what has happened in the last 30-something hours. In case you didn't tune in to my impromptu Sunday night edition, it's July 11th on Tuesday. Now, I'm doing this because I had 3 shows lined up to record today. And wow, one of those first guests, there was a cyber attack at his hotel where they didn't get the internet. Now, the interesting thing is he spoke with the engineer and we were able to have just a quick FaceTime conversation. And he was on a back end server at this fairly luxury resort in beautiful Big Sky, Montana, because the information that he was going to share as a whistleblower, well, interestingly enough, people couldn't get onto Wi-Fi, even though it showed Wi-Fi. So they spent an hour and a half trying to figure it out, and they could not. Now, this is something that keeps happening over and over again. I've had our first strike on the YouTube channel. Just out of a 58-minute video, one word was uttered in a conversation, and it was taken down. And we're seeing extreme big tech censorship just come out of left, right, and center, no holds barred. So please follow this on Rumble at the Sovereign Soul on Rumble and the backup channel to the YouTube channel so that you can stay up to date. Don't even have the website or newsletter, folks. This is just pumping out this information, doing this out of my own blessing to be able to communicate and share news that you're not going to see otherwise and information. So we're going to kick off here today with a thank you to all of the digital warriors, the citizen soldiers, the healthcare heroes, first responders, military law enforcement, all those benevolent individuals, as well as divine feminine guardians and divine masculine protectors and benevolent, powerful parents who are standing up, fighting for the sovereignty freedoms that we have enjoyed in most of our lifetimes on this planet and elsewhere, and are stepping up and pushing back against evil. Now, another guest of mine who is to be on the show today also was stopped out from being here to explain, and we're going to have her back on in the next few days, as soon as we can, to talk about the insanity that continues to be perpetrated at the Canadian border. So we have a whistleblower on a global scale who is about to come on and talk about cryptocurrency, what's been discovered, and another RICO case that is underway. And then we have the insanity and harassment by some Canadian border officials, as well as public health officials, harassing and coercing a 78-year-old grandmother, her daughter, and her grandson being traumatized. And this only happened a matter of days ago, simply because they did not want to take a certain nose test. I've got to speak here, folks, in code, but you get it, a certain swab that goes up the nose. They said no. It's been 2.5 years since this pandemic lockdown, right? So anyway, let me jump in here and get going today. What has been happening? Well, Canadian Freedom Convoy, according to some of the Dutch farmers, has inspired them to stand up against the tyranny by Mark Rutte, the prime minister over in the Netherlands, who has said and openly come out and said, we're going to take 50% of the farmland and charge you a nitrogen tax so we can build. He has said this open publicly in the European Union Parliament, in press in the Netherlands, that they are going to expropriate half of the farmers' farmland. And the Dutch farmers stood up, and they've got some incredible support. Now, here is one of the things that we're going to show on YouTube, because this is a report from Rebel News. Kian Baxter, who is over there from Canada right now, who is covering this, because the Dutch police had shot at a, we now know, 16-year-old child, 16-year-old teenager driving a tractor. And all the footage thus far does not show that that tractor was bearing down on police. He was actually pulling out and getting away, and bullet missed his head by 2 inches. So this is kind of the tyranny. So Keen will just kind of cover it right here for you.
Some news came through the grapevine that the police actually started opening fire on
here it is.
Protesters just north of this location.
That's a 16-year-old driving away. Here's another angle.
Now, this prime minister, this leftist globalist prime minister, will stop at nothing to silence any dissidents, just like Justin Trudeau will. Just like Justin Trudeau will trample over protesters with horses, these police officers will
in Ottawa.
Fire at them.
And now here we are 6 months later in Netherlands.
Safety. It's pretty horrifying what's going on in this country. And it's all because of this prime minister that is eating up Klaus Schwab's policies and pushing it on the people. Now, I was able to speak with one of the farmers here today, and he told me that this protest was actually inspired by the Canadian convoy.
Well, I think lots of people got inspired by the Freedom Convoy in Canada way before when the COVID protests started in Holland. So lots of people followed the truckers in Canada. And some of those people are joining the convoys in the Netherlands to support the farmers. And some farmers are, of course,
well, this was recorded a few days ago, and since then there's just been a wonderful uptick as a result of this. 2 days ago, Kian had posted to his Twitter and Instagram to your social page, 350 tractors have pulled together to send this message to the world. Help, no farmers, no food. And this is the all-out war that they're waging as part of that Agenda 2030 that we have seen to basically take us all down. And here we have, coming to support the Dutch farmers as well, are these wonderful firefighters too. I'll play this little video, just an example. So it's standing in solidarity is what it's all about. All right. And we continue to see that happening. We've had Dutch and German farmers unite. Here's just a wonderful example of them shaking hands, border crossing in the Netherlands and Germany. We're all one humanity, right? We are all from the same source, living our own unique expression in this lifetime. We are spirits in a human body, having a 3D, 4D physical experience. And so here it is. The farmers have taken a stand in Europe, and we've got this going from Poland as well, Germany. We have Algeria has stood up, Argentina stood up. Actually going to show that to you a bit later in the show. And it's not just the farmers, it's also the people that are marching against this on the Great Reset. This video that just came out of Switzerland, even though it was recorded a few days ago, it has just been posted because, again, extreme tech censorship. They do not want mainstream media seeing this. All right, this is the media. This is a massive demonstration by civilians in Zurich, Switzerland. And you see what they're carrying right there? Like the ox and the cows and the bulls would have over their necks to pull forward. I mean, they're standing in solidarity with their brothers and sisters in the Netherlands, in Germany, around the world, India, you name it. This is a massive uprising, a civil uprising of disobedience, saying we will not comply, and being peaceful, by the way, and standing out. So it's time, folks, for everybody to stand up. Don't just sit at home. Don't just be on Twitter and looking and reading and educating yourself on this. I mean, look at this. Here's another one for an example of a march that just happened in Germany as well. Look at this. Gandhi has shown us the path. Martin Luther King has shown us the path. so many other greats in history. Nelson Mandela, locked up for their beliefs, came out to move forward. Heck, you go all the way back to Yeshua, Jesus Christ, locked up for his beliefs and persecuted, right? But look, imagine the power of the people. As Tecumseh said, a single branch breaks, but together a bundle is strong. And this is what's happening everywhere. All right, take a screenshot of this next one and make sure you post this too. Share this. Be a purveyor of truth. No farmers, no food. Bottom line, folks, if you saw my show from Sunday that I did in the impromptu show, that California has a truck apocalypse going on right now, which is a manufactured supply chain crisis by virtue of the California governor, Gavin Newsom, having passed the legislation and forced down that any independent contractor as a trucker, so you own your own truck, your 18-wheeler, and you're taking contracts to transfer freight around the state or around the country or even international across the Canadian border, right? Well, unless you're part of a union, you can no longer be an independent contractor. Over 70,000 truckers are affected. So that is over 70,000 truckers taken off the road. Otherwise, they'll be arrested. They can have their truck impounded. The list just goes on. And it's absolutely disgusting. So if you're to be a leader in a time of need and you're supposed to be benevolent, why are you, again, criminalizing medical doctors, nurses, practitioners, naturopaths, and holistic health practitioners? Why are you making it criminal for them to provide treatment and help to folks who have different ailments or that are just saying, we don't believe this particular narrative? And why is it that you're making it criminal to drive a truck and transfer freight when this is basically, we're in a global crisis? You saw my continued updates from Dr. Kirk Elliot, PhD economist and sovereign economist and PhD theology. So he's got that wonderful spiritual aspect to himself. And we're looking at this massive global crisis. And we're in 10 quarters of deflationary period, means a Great Depression. So that's where we are right now. I mean, you don't have to take it from me. Back then, 7 weeks ago, we started our first shows together. 25% inflation in the United States. Argentina has 60%. My goodness, right? So lots of other things are happening too. If we're going to go around the world, let's take a look at what impositions have just happened in Hong Kong here, folks. And this is coming to a North American city near you. This was posted here that HK's new health minister, Lo Chung Mao, announced that Friday from all VID patients under home quarantine, they'll have to wear an electronic bracelet in order to prevent them from leaving home. All right, so here you are. We've seen all the data, and I cannot mention some of that. You got to go back to our existing videos, including on Rumble, from the data that's been shown that there's 99.98% recovery rate from this thing. But now, if you don't follow the narrative there, then you have an ankle bracelet. What happens with an ankle bracelet? All part of the digital tracking, digital ID, that they just want to make sure that you succumb, right? So speaking of succumb, we are also seeing in a court of law, this was published on the Defender News, run by Children's Health Defense, which was set up and co-founded by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. This is on July 5th, just a few days ago, folks. It says that Pfizer asked court to dismiss whistleblower lawsuit because the government was aware of fraud. In an interview with the defender, the lawyer representing the whistleblower, Rick Jackson, said Pfizer is arguing the court should dismiss the lawsuit alleging fraud in Pfizer's COVID-19 trials because the US government knew that the wrongdoings, but continued to do business anyways. Lots of things to be said here, but I want this to live up on that big tech censorship channel so we can awaken more people who are moving over there from, their CNN Plus subscriptions being canceled. All right, what else is happening and being perpetrated on our children? Well, here it is. As Seth Dillon has posted, that in some places, children as young as 13 are now allowed to undergo gender reassignment surgery without parental consent. He says the world has gone mad. When you zoom in on this, it's actually the health information pamphlet that you fill out before a surgery, is what it seems. And understand this. So you can go down to the age of 13 and you can get a major surgery that will change the course of your life forever, but you can't drive a car, you can't vote, you can't really do anything without parental consent, right? Heck, even go to a sleepover if you've got benevolent parents that are raising those children. Yet they are sneaking it in that this is for the patient only. You got to stand up. You got to stop this, folks. Right news. In addition to that, wonderful and hilarious cartoon here from Alpha News, and the cartoonist is DA Bronco. It was just posted 2 days ago as a joking throwback to the 4th of July in Minnesota. As you can read here, guy's reading his newspaper saying fireworks are really crazy this year, and while the bullets are flying through the window. And most unfortunately, that the statistics have come out and been reported on a number of different news websites, even mainstream, that major cities in the United States are seeing the highest crime rates ever. And in fact, somebody had also reported that the state of Washington, the Seattle Police Department, under the state of Washington, right? Seattle Police Department, since they're so defunded, they are no longer researching reports and incidents of rape. And allegedly that has been reported in San Francisco as well. So imagine how bad things have to be where the police department does not have enough bodies to go out and just investigate reports of rape, major crimes. Get out of those cities, get out of those places if you can, because it may continue to get hotter. Now, lots of hypocrisy and gaslighting that we see in the mainstream media, and including from authorities. And here's another example. This was posted on Mr. Assange's WikiLeaks page, and reports that in 1994, that this is a letter that Biden wrote to a constituent bragging that he has voted against abortion funding on 50 separate occasions. The date here is April 7, 1994. And remember, as a public official, any correspondence with citizens are public record. So here it is, right for everybody to check out and fact check that, including, I guess they keep it in the archives library. Would they not in the US government? Because somebody let us know in the comments or in the chat, that would be wonderful. Okay, so what the heck else is going on has the world come to, right? When you have mainstream media news anchors, I just want you to think about this for a second. Imagine that you go back 5 years and a mainstream news anchor was saying that, well, I disagree with that other politician's politics and I hope they die. Imagine that just 5 years ago. What would happen to that news anchor who is wishing for the death of a politician or just a citizen of their own country, wishing for their death without a criminal prosecution or trial or whatnot, just outright, openly? In a way, to me, it seems like they're advocating it. Well, hey, guess what? It's 2022, and on MSNBC, that just happened. I'm going to play for you the clip that just came out on Meet the Press on Sunday, 2 days ago. Again, we're talking just 32 hours, folks. What was said right here? Listen in to this.
If he runs, will somebody explain to me how he accepts losing?
Yeah, that's a
You know the answer
big,
to that
that's a
question.
big conundrum. Look, I think there's probably maybe 15% chance he doesn't run, but very likely he's in.
Seems like all
I
these
was gonna
people
say,
told you was
right,
death.
right.
That was the only
That was
answer
another
is death.
There is,
How many times did you
The
get
only
that?
plan we have is another Republican congressman, a former Republican congressman, has said, look, we have no plan for this except sitting around hoping he dies.
You're talking about a former president of the United States. And let me just back that up. Okay, we've just had 29 seconds of this conversation, and you are on a major media news network. Here it is again.
A former Republican congressman has said, look, we have no plan for this except sitting around hoping he dies. Sitting around hoping he dies. Sitting around hoping he dies. except sitting around hoping he dies.
Yes. Insane times. All right, so let me just take this from Rep MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and jump over here, folks, because it's still shocking, just kind of, in a way, it catches you off guard, right? But why is it not surprising anymore to be hearing this or reading this from mainstream media? Well, I'm going to go over to this lovely post from Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia, and she posted this on July 4th on her pages. And I was having a conversation, you're going to see the interview very shortly here, with a candidate for governor of Vermont who's living in exile because he has been spend 1,000 volunteer hours exposing voter fraud and trafficking in his state, which has helped investigators in a RICO case put away, lock up, or prosecute public officials, on voter fraud, child trafficking, human trafficking, all the way up to the highest levels of the state. And he's living in exile. He has, like Jason Bourne, right? He's got to move. He's moving. You'll see in the interview, it's coming out later today. 2 to 3 days is the maximum that he's staying in a place, and he's jumping around to keep himself safe. But he hasn't stopped. He's not in hiding. He's still out there publicly, going out and exposing these folks. And I shared this with him because he goes all the way back to his family in Vermont, fighting in the American Revolution against the tyranny of England, and also then fighting in the Civil War. His ancestors, the Hoyts in Vermont, fighting to abolish slavery. And here he is now fighting for the sovereign freedoms of all Vermonters. And by virtue of that, exposing these folks in a RICO case that crosses state lines and can go even further internationally. He is a great patriot. And I just want to share with him that this is what he is honoring. And this, again, from Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, says, "Happy Independence Day. Let us have honor like these men." And I'm just going to zoom it in here, folks, so you can read this a little bit closer, because understand the sacrifice that was taken to overthrow England and that tyrannical government at that time that we've so learned about and may very well be knocking on your door soon if you don't stand up and stop them. All right, so, and I'm talking again about peaceful noncompliance. Says, by signing the Declaration of Independence, the 56 Americans pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. It was no idle pledge. 9 signers died of wounds during the Revolutionary War. 5 were captured or imprisoned. Wives and children were killed, jailed, mistreated, or left penniless. 12 signers' houses were burned to the ground. 17 lost everything they owned. No signer defected. Their honor, like their nation, remained intact. What a wonderful story here as we segue into the next aspect of the tyranny that we're seeing right now, because you just take a look at this. This is how one of the ways that the politicians and the corporations attempt to divide us, right? That is part of the destabilization plan to create division amongst the citizens and to segregate them, like we've seen back in WW2, right? And we've seen in other countries since, including Venezuela. And they classify one as not being worthy, and they classify another as being worthy because they are following the narrative and what the government, remember governus mentis, which means mind control in Latin, is the literal translation, right? To follow that. And I'm not going to say these words here because we want this to continue to live on one of these channels, but you just read it for yourself. Okay. And so Robin Williams said it best. What an awesome comedian, and what a talent too, for everybody. Says politicians should wear sponsor jackets like NASCAR drivers. Then we know who owns them. And if you've seen what's been going on with the information from a certain laptop being leaked out everywhere on the internet, on independent news channels, And then shows like this, you're really starting to build a picture of certain politicians in certain positions, especially in the United States and Canada and Australia and New Zealand, who are, looks like they're working on behalf of a foreign adversary, right? And those ties, very likely with everything we've seen, whether it's Lee Dundas, she's shared that information in the show, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., some other incredible lawyers and experts as well. And I've got to be, not say some of those names right here on this channel because of what's going on now. Just in the last week, they're terminating people's channels, just terminating them, even if you don't have all the strikes. Like, it really makes you question, right? If you haven't and you're asleep, those who know, if you know, you know. This is why I will not be reading this one out loud, but take a look at what happened here. We're talking about patriots and defenders, both for humanity and for their civilization. We know that in pretty much gun-free Japan, that somebody had constructed the attacker, allegedly trained by the self-defense forces of Japan and turned, allegedly, put together a homemade shotgun with 2 trigger pulls, assassinated Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who, what happened when in 2020 did not mandate these things, like up in Canada, Castro, and in the States, and sent 7 figures worth of those doses back, and then issued that thing that begins with an I, that 3 billion people in the world, and also won a Nobel Prize for a discovery in medicine. You can read that, you can see that, things that make you go, take a screenshot of that. What else is going on in the world to expose the corruption at the highest levels? Well, we just saw the pullout of Elon Musk in his Twitter case. And here's a post that he made just yesterday. Take a look at this, right? And it's his post of himself in a great meme of his own. They said I couldn't buy Twitter, laugh. Then they wouldn't disclose the bot info, laughs harder. Now they want to force me to buy Twitter in court, laughs harder. And then now they have to disclose information, that bot info in court through the process of discovery. And Kevin Hoyt, in just interviewing him, he said, listen, he goes, all these 5 years of me exposing these corrupt government officials, law enforcement, all the way down to the administrators at the municipal city levels. He goes, nobody has sued me for defamation because of the information I have. I would like somebody to try and sue me. He literally says that. You'll hear him in the interview, because that means there's a discovery process and will be made record in a court of law of the information that I have against them. He said, so I would love for somebody to attempt to sue me for defamation, because through discovery, you're going to have to see all the information that I have piled up. And obviously, they've got that wonderful RICO case that he is helping support. And I sense that he is one of the great catalysts for those RICO cases going on. Okay, so what else is going on, right? I mean, you're getting it on so many levels, folks, so many levels. This is just a report that came out a little over a month ago, that the state of Washington is sponsoring the creation of a program that composts human bodies to turn them into soil. And this report in Science Journal on May 25th this is 2019, is excitedly purporting that this will soon be legal in Washington, part of a growing green death trend. Don't you want Granny to be composted and turned into sunflower food? I don't think so. But why are we seeing this? We're not going to do it on this show, but there will be another show that is specific to the reasons why a lot of people are saying that this is going on not only in North America, but countries around the world are preparing to liquefy human bodies. That's what's being said. So we're going to investigate that and come back to you here as well. But again, it gets down to health and where we are being attacked on all the levels, right? And this is from Kevin Hoyt on his Telegram. ABS, aluminum, barium, strontium. I can't breathe. All lives matter. Why? Because of the geoengineering that has been sprayed in the atmosphere. And several labs have been able to point out that this is what is in the spraying of the atmosphere. So now you've got labs stating we have scientific data of the stuff. When you see those planes go overhead and you don't see the vapor trails departiculate, which is just water vapor created by the creation of friction. I'm going back to my time in air cadets. Like, my goodness, it's pretty simple. If you turn on the pot of boiling water, right? It's, water, if it's heated up enough, friction is going to turn to steam. Well, here you go, right? So we've already got H2O in the air, friction over a surface of an airplane that will departiculate. But then you look at the ones that don't, and they spread out, and then you go from beautiful blue sky to a complete gray cloud. So take a picture of that one and share that, please, folks. That would be wonderful, because we all have to do our part to take back the world and start with our own communities. And speaking of communities, this deserves wonderful recognition. Just came out. Don'tPay.uk says we are building the UK's biggest non-payment campaign since the poll tax. 8 million people will not be able to afford their bills this winter, while energy companies make billions. Alone, we face debt and disconnection. But by withholding payment together, even for a few months, we can win a fair solution to this crisis. For that to happen, we need people across country to organize non-payment campaigns in their area. Join us. Well, in Canada, we just had this. Congratulations to those that are putting that together. That needs to be taken across the world. I completely advocate for that. And in Canada, why? Well, hey, you know what? Just this weekend, for nearly 4 days, reports of up to half of the population of Canada, in the second largest country in the world by landmass, right? Russia being first geographically, Canada being second. They had no cell phone, no internet, no banking, access to ATMs, debit cards weren't working because Rogers communication was down. They haven't said why they were down. We've got a lot of theories, don't we, and conspiracies for sure as to why that's happened. We'll not be mentioning those here at this moment in time, but just do a little bit of thought, be discerning. You don't have to follow what I say or my mantra, or any of the information presented here. Do your own critical thinking, folks. So here's the thing. In Canada, out of the world, there's been studies done that the cell phone rates, the monthly plans, are the highest in the world because it is a cell phone monopoly. Bell, Telus, Rogers, and Rogers was attempting to buy Shaw in Canada, which then would make it only 2 major wireless carriers in Canada. So a complete monopoly, right? And we're also seeing that in the UK as they're talking about the increasing gas rates. I mean, my goodness, in some places right now in Canada, you're filling up for the equivalent of over $10 US a gallon. In fact, Donnie Mack was just on the show on our follow-up interview with Give Send Go, and he said the price in Vancouver from a Canadian dollar translated to the American dollar is over $10 US a gallon in Vancouver, BC. That's crazy, right? Because you have the Alaska pipeline that flows through British Columbia. You have refineries, you have Washington State, you have the ports of Seattle, Washington, the ports of Vancouver, plus you have it a major transportation hub, and it's the highest. Go figure why that's the reason, right? Okay, so something else just came out from Dr. Thorpe, published this. I have a challenge with parents that are still believing, after all of the research and the information out there and the discussions going on, why they are choosing to put this product in their children, especially babies. And as you can read on the screen, 58 babies who received the, suffered life-threatening adverse events. And as you can read on the screen, the title is a cardiac arrest of a 2-month-old after taking that. And yet a video from the CDC today, the head of the CDC, saying you need to go out and you get your your kids to take this. All right. Well, folks, you guys stand up. You got to stand up. You're seeing how people are doing it. I'll show you what's happened in Argentina. You've seen, or you can find what is taking place in Sri Lanka. You need to stand up, stop this. If you know people who are doing this and are unaware, share this video, share this information to wake them up, have those conversations, because unified, we're strong. And there are so many people uniting across the globe right now, and they're barely able to suppress it. All right. Let's take it to a moment of levity on the show, because we're all about love and levity. So we just saw Bojo gone, somebody with this great meme. And again, if you send us any memes, we will absolutely give credit where it's due, or you just put your little @ symbol. If you choose, we will give you the credit, but somebody pulled this one together and it is hilarious, right? It's Dumb and Dumber, Lloyd and Floyd. And we've got Bojo from the UK that was forced to resign last week. Last night, it came out that French President Macron is being forced to resign. And what they're getting him on is backroom dealing with an American company. And reports are allegedly that that's Uber, that he has conspired and worked on behalf of the business interests of a foreign company, not on behalf of the interest of his citizens in France. So he's being forced to resign. Who's going to be next? Will it be the Netherlands? I'm not a betting person. You can feel into it, use your intuition, use your remote viewing if you're following wonderful Michael Jacobs course, or other people's Reiki, Qigong, or just you're already born with an innate sense. Maybe you're already tapped into your intuition as to who is going to go next. But that seems like the time is almost up for Senor Justin Castro. We certainly hope so. Now, why? Why are you not seeing mainstream media cover this stuff? Well, thanks to wonderful meme by the Awakened Outlaw that you can find on Truth Social. Right? Geez, do I dare utter that even louder? This is probably why. You've got them propping up somebody who's been supporting, like in Canada, where now every news outlet, not the independents, you no longer have a press pass, like Rebel News, True North News, they're not enabled to have a press pass anymore because they have refused to take a cent from the government, because now taking money from the Canadian regime up there means, up there, Ottawa, out there, however you want to call it, down there, means that you have to conform to their narrative, and you sign a legal agreement that they approve it. And now with the new internet federal regulation bill that they have just forced through, and they're coercive and treasonous, in my opinion. And wait, Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom says it's also treasonous for separate parties to collude and create a coalition government. That's interesting too, right? So that's probably why they're propping up these politicians that have these powers. And speaking of having these powers, they can either use it for good or for sinister activities. And we've just mentioned what Kevin Hoyt has uncovered, and you're going to hear it very shortly when that show goes up, because it's just finished editing, goes up, and you hear from him that stuff. But again, look at what can happen with the wrong person in power, right? Great meme, man who accidentally left 300,000 guns for Taliban gives lecture on gun control. Well, what happened? We're just coming up on a year when there was the withdrawal from Afghanistan and $85 billion. This has been reported. US military equipment left behind. And according to the State Department, the reports were 10 to 40,000 Americans left behind. And the reports in Canada back then were up to 5,000 Canadians left behind on the pullout. So here you are, gaslighting is just so extreme, right? Because just today, that Biden at a press conference is saying he's continuing to bang that drum to go after the weapons in the Second Amendment in the United States. And Lisa Simpson kind of says it best, right? Whether you're in the States, whether you're in Canada or anywhere else, anyone trying to disarm you is your enemy. And there's a quote that's been around for decades. And that quote says, if you trust the government, just ask an Indian. Or excuse me, the quote is, if you think you should trust the government, just ask an Indian. And I have a quote here on another social channel. It's not on the computer right now, but it was from Sitting Bull talking about how American government at the time forced them to hand over their weapons. And guess what happened after that? Massive slaughter of the natives and the indigenous. And that kind of happened with colonialism everywhere, didn't it? Colonialism doesn't sound too good, does it? It's not sovereign, it's not a free world, but we're here now. And it's incumbent on all of us, regardless of our skin color or our race or creed, right, to follow the ethos of love and light and either be for humanity and freedom and peace and love, or you're other on the other side, you're against it and you're attempting to suppress and oppress humanity and our sovereign freedoms and love, right? Okay, folks, make sure the kids are out of the room for this one. I shared this on my Sunday night show. I showed this to Kevin, and you'll tune into that show. You'll see his feedback as a candidate for the governor of Vermont, who's running again. This is why you also need to stand up. I mean, if it's not apparent to you right now, you need to do something, stand up, share this program at the bare minimum, sharing this program, as JFK said, that the service of truth is the ultimate heroism. So sending out these truths. Put the earmuffs on the kids. Get ready to listen to this because there is some salty language. I would say this gentleman, this Canadian farmer, rancher, has absolutely every right to be saying what he is saying based on additional information that has come out of Canada recently. Here we go. Listen up. Get the kiddies out of the room.
Welcome to communist fucking Canada. I just listened to David Lametti, the Attorney General of Canada, tell the camera that he felt the Canadian citizens didn't have the legal right to own private property. Well, this is where you get to listen to me tell David Lametti, you pencil-nosed little prick, the Attorney General of Canada, go fuck yourself, you cunt of a man. How fucking dare you tell the Canadian people something like that? The hardworking people of this country, busting their backs, doing fuck all. And then we got to listen to your boss, Turd Boy, stand there and tell the fucking world that the Canadian people don't have the fucking legal right to defend ourselves with firearms. What we do have, we have the legal right to defend ourselves by way of equal force. That means you fucking come at me with a pitchfork, you leave this fucking world by way of pitchfork. You come at me with a bat, I fucking quickly remove that bat from your grasp and shove it up your fucking ass. And that also means if you come at me with fucking firearms, read between the fucking lines. Now to my friends down south of the border, you do now have a communist country to the north of you, and that better worry the fuck out of you. Mark my words, at some point we're gonna do our best to try to fucking take our country back from these communist sons of bitches. We got no fucking choice. And when we step up and try it, we're certainly gonna need your help. Love each and every one of you. There are no borders in this fucking fight, people. This is fucking good against evil. God bless each and every one of you. God bless Canada and the US.
And there you have it. Great reason to stand up because they're coming for your kids. They're coming for you. They're coming for your land. You're seeing it in the Netherlands right now. You've seen it unfold on the world stage. We've seen that in Sri Lanka. We saw the government collapse in Israel. Bojo's finally removed. Macron is gone. Lots of leaks coming out from a certain person's laptop all over the internet, keeping it suppressed. And hey, boy, if you're still not woken up right now or friends aren't woken up, take a look at this. This is an expose and a report that has just come across from One American News Network. And they are questioning why is Twitter hiring former members of the FBI, CIA, and NATO Why would they need to do that? Especially with the exposure we just saw from Musk and the deal and pulling out. You can go on to One American News Network. You can watch that expose in that report as they're questioning as to why you would need that on a large social media platform to have those types of folks. Perhaps it's because you don't want information that would be getting out like this. We're about to see that's taking place in Argentina right now for their protest of the 60% inflation where they are. Oh, by the way, America is reported right now at 40% inflation based on the indices that Dr. Elliot had shared on our original economic update 7+ weeks ago. Here it is. Watch this movie in full, because this is what happens when you stand up and say no to tyranny, folks, and you have that ability to come together and prevent it from happening. But only you can do this. Beautiful video. Great soundtrack too. This is a compilation of their continued protests from this spring to now. There you go. You've got different countries right there. Folks standing up, folks speaking out. Again, do it peacefully, like they're doing. Because here's what's coming next. We've already shared that in April, a few very smaller sized banks by China standards had frozen the accounts of deposit holders and prevented them from getting in. Well, that April turned into May, May turned into June, June is now July. And folks, people continue to show up to their banks in that country, certain banks, they're not allowed in, and it got violent. Here's what happens next. This is a video shared from yesterday. These are people that have not been able to access their bank accounts for going on now a period of 3 months. Right? Oh, excuse me, they're taking a woman hauling her away on a bus right there toward the end. You got the picture. I won't bring that back up and play it again. So the bank runs have started. We saw that we had the massive banking issues in Canada here. Man, all over the weekend. There are reports that some people are having issues. There are also reports, and we shared it, that JP Morgan Chase on Thursday night and on Friday, people can access, get online, do any banking transactions. And that we know it's way out there. Bloomberg, heck, they even publish that JP Morgan Chase is undergoing a RICO lawsuit inclusive with Bank of America and others. And we saw a report in Bloomberg in the UK that also suggests that it's Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs for price fixing silver and gold, not price fixing it up, keeping it suppressed down, pushing it down because of the short positions and the derivatives that they've had. And Dr. Elliot's going to come on here. We're recording shortly, so you can hear live from him the economic update and what they've been doing. But really, folks, you've got to have, we've just seen the banks, people haven't been able to take money out of their banks, people in Canada who didn't have money on hand. And I've been saying this ever since the start of the show. This is part of the 5 ways to thrive through 2025. Okay, you've got to have extra cash on hand. Rule 7Ps, proper previous planning prevents a piss poor performance. If you don't have extra food, extra natural spring water, or if you've got a stream, a lake nearby, or heck, you've just got water out of the tap, make sure you're filtering it, because you see what they're putting in stuff, right? You know, they don't have your best interests at heart, not until we take this back for humanity and do it to serve humanity, not to serve an agenda where these guidestones were finally struck down by God, it seems, just last week. You got to also have silver and precious metals. Now we know that silver's trading roughly at 86 to 1 or 87 to 1 on spot price to gold for thousands of years, millennia, folks, many millennia. It's been basically 20 to 1 ounce of gold, 20 ounces of silver. Now everybody is expecting that it is going to swing back. We've been saying this for a long time here on the show, that it could go 3 to 5 times growth very, very quickly. And now that it's public and people start believing what they see on Bloomberg, just want to see that verification instead of an independent news source. Well, they are starting to feel what the other analysts are finally coming on board and saying, that this could potentially go to $600 an ounce from $20 an ounce right now. Now, here's the thing. We're not talking about, ETFs, right? Because that's the market where we've already seen a nearly $1 billion fine against JP Morgan Chase that was issued by the Department of Justice a year and a half ago for price fixing silver. But that didn't stop them, right? We're seeing the trading desks, as according to Bloomberg and a lot of other sources as well that are out there for those that want the public sources, that there's upwards of $32 trillion in derivative shorts that they're unable to cover. So go to kirkelliottphd.com/soul right here, fill out your form. You'll see the special message from myself and the Bling'd Buddha and the Sovereign Soul Show, and having a conversation with them about getting physical silver bullion on your person. We're not talking about just little eagles that are minted and you're paying over the spot price for them, and you have to go find somebody in the market that could sell it, whatnot, quickly if you ever needed to liquidate. It's all here for you. So go to kirkelliottphd.com/soul, just fill out that form. And in the next day or two, you can have a conversation, completely no hassle, right? It's to understand what you can do. We have folks from around the world, like Europe, Canada, North America, all over to Australia that are working with this fine firm to help basically create sovereignty. And as a result of that, we're seeing this as the greatest form of creation of wealth and transfer of wealth right now. I mean, you saw on my Sunday show, $35 trillion of precious metals, gold and silver, was purchased by central banks last month. We're talking about a trillion. Do you know that 1 billion is 1,000 million? So you need to have 1,000 billion to have a trillion. So you have 35,000 billion makes a trillion that was purchased in a month. It's beyond mind-boggling to me. So the writing, it's not just on the wall now, it's been on the wall. So don't get caught blindsided, take action, have a phone call, have a conversation with people in your community about this information, about standing up, civil disobedience. It's time. Create that stand up, that peaceful disobedience and standing up. And remember, oxygen mask on an airplane. You first put it on yourself before you help out other people. So get the supplies you need, get extra cash on hand, get silver on hand as well. You can secure it in a depository safely somewhere. Dr. Elliot's team will handle all that for you in terms of conversation and give you your options and what you can do. And why is it that he is shunned by Wall Street? Maybe because he doesn't follow their narrative, right? Nor does his team. So that's one of the great reasons that we love them, is because they speak the truth. They present a different perspective, and it's up to you to go ahead with that information that so far from what we've seen is 100% accurate, and he continues to be accurate with that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Brad Wozni. You've listened to the Sovereign Soul on behalf of myself, the Bling'd Buddha, and everybody on our team, domestic and from afar, wishing you many blessings to the rest of your day. Be well, and please like, subscribe, enable notifications on the show. Leave a comment. It does so much more than you know with the algorithm on Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, is just leaving a comment with a like, a thumbs up. I mean, if you thumb down things, that's fine too. That's entirely up to you. But that helps us get this message out here. Not only just subscribing, but leaving a like and a comment. And my goodness, if you don't even want to leave a comment, please do leave a like and subscribe and enable notifications so you can be made aware of the next guests that I have on the show and this information that folks like this, we have to put these shows on because mainstream media, for now and for at least the foreseeable future, will not present the truth to you. All the best, everybody. Thank you. Many blessings. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us on the program, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, follow, subscribe, share this with 9 friends and family. And of course, if you enjoy our Bling'd Buddha firing red pills from his 9mm, let us know.